What's up, everybody? It's Coach Adam here from Decentralized Strength and Conditioning, where we're helping people to maximize on their physique, their fitness level, and their athleticism, no matter what their goal or where they are in their life. And we do that by educating you and implementing simple, safe, and effective ways to maximize on those aspects, our physique, our fitness levels, and our athleticism. And this specific podcast or presentation is how to make a really simple fitness journal, the notebook edition. And this will be a really great presentation to listen to or podcast to listen to if you are new to working out or you're somebody who has always started off the new year on a fitness program, but after a few months, you fail to see any progress or you fall off track. So this is going to be all about some really basic concepts on just tracking important information in our workouts and in our lifestyle and habits in general. So it'll be super informational on that aspect. Uh, Today is the 26th of December, 2023. So this will be all about the upcoming year here, 2024. And the goal here is at the centralized strength is education first. Okay, so I want you to learn the basic concepts, and that's why fitness journaling is a great way to get into that because you are physically writing things down, and that has been proven to ingrain stuff in our memory better than typing, for example. Um, but we're going to get into all that later on here. But each month here, we are educating you guys on something different. And for the month of December, it's all about fitness journaling and how to get started to actually reach your habits. A few months ago, we focused on how to build up the core, how to build up the upper back simply and safely. So this will be my first presentation for how to create a fitness journal for this year, and then I think each year we'll update it and make it a little bit better. All right, so we'll dive into the first slide here. So I kind of mentioned some of the reasons of why we should make a fitness journal. And you can see here I have the three different examples that we are going to focus on. The first one here on the top left is just a blank sheet of paper with the template, I guess I call it, filled out, where we just have the weeks, I have the exercise blocks, and then an area for notes. And then we have a filled out sheet. So we'll look at that and how I fill it out over a 3-week period of time. Then we also have another sheet of paper or another notebook where we can track some indicators like body weight, how many hours of sleep we're getting, calories, our steps, and what we're actually eating there. But the reasons why creating a physical fitness journal or diary is for the accountability and the self-education aspect. If you do the fitness journaling correctly, you're going to be able to incorporate and understand progressive overload correctly, or just increasing the weight, simply increasing the weight each week. I guess we'll start off with that. And then will also allow you to incorporate periodization correctly, which is just alternating between muscle and strength phases. And a phase, which we'll get into a little bit more later on, is within a notebook edition here. It's going to always be 3 weeks because that's how many columns we'll get that'll allow us on the piece of paper. And then we'll also be able to learn the importance of tracking key health habits and metrics, right, with that third sheet of paper. And when these two journals look good and we're increasing weight and we're hitting our other goals, then we'll see a lot of progress in the future. So that is the goal with this. And there's other ways that we can actually, just like with exercise, we can progress our fitness journaling as well. And the way I did it was since high school, I've always been writing my workouts out in fitness journals. And this is the best way I have found to track and record and implement good principles into a really simple fitness journal. And then from there, I made an Excel document, made Excel spreadsheets, which I still use today. And then I evolved that into actually creating a fitness app, which I use Trainerize for that. And so nowadays, myself personally, I just stick to using the app to track my key habits, and then I stick to the Excel sheet to track my really big key indicators that I've been tracking since 2022. But before that, I was mainly using a piece of paper, workout journals, and a pen to track and record all my data. And that was up until my late 20s. And here is a better view of those 3 sheets of paper we're going to focus on, but they are really just 2 pieces of paper. The first one is the template that I was talking about, how we can set up the piece of paper for success. And then the second paper is all of the weights and key information from the workouts that we need to record. And then the last piece of paper is a daily journal on tracking key habits, lifestyle habits, our diet, things like that, that are key indicators that we want to track over a long period of time. So coming up, we're going to go over the steps that are involved in creating and implementing a really simple fitness journal. The first step into how to make a fitness journal is to get multiple notebooks. I've always preferred to use the composition notebooks, but regardless of the notebooks we're going to get, we need at least 2 to start. One for the workouts and then one for tracking our daily lifestyle habits and key indicators or metrics. The second step is to make sure that one of the notebooks is just a workout journal and the other one is going to be a daily checklist for our diet, our lifestyle habits, and other key indicators. Moving on to step 3. Now we're actually going to get into some actionable steps here. So let's grab a notebook, or you can just grab a piece of paper to practice on if we don't have a notebook handy right now. But the big key to step 3 here is to fold the piece of paper into 4 columns. And we can do that by just folding it over 2 times so that we get those 4 individual columns. And the first column is going to be connected to the actual notebook. And that's where we're going to write all our weights in. And those weights are going to stay those exercises, we're going to write our exercises in that first column. Those are going to stay consistent throughout the 3 weeks. And then those additional 3 columns is where we are going to track the weights that we did that week, the sets we did that week, or any notes on how our body feels at the way bottom of the piece of paper. But then we're going to do the same thing for week 2, and then we're going to do the same thing for week 3. But the cool thing about this is that we can incorporate that progressive overload now, where we are slowly adding a little bit of weight or making the exercise more challenging as we go. And that is a really big key principle into seeing more progress in the gym. Plus, we'll be able to incorporate that other principle of periodization, or simply going from a phase, or in this example, our fitness journal fitness here, it would be 3 weeks because that's how many columns we have in the notebook to track. But each 3 of these weeks would have a muscle theme or a strength theme focus. And most of the exercises, especially in that first block of exercises, are going to be really focused towards either muscle building or strength. And for example, this phase 1 would be muscle building, and then phase 2 would be strength, and then phase 3 would be back to muscle, and then so on and so on. And we could do that for a year. And the only way that we can do that correctly is by looking back at our previous workouts we did the last time we did a muscle phase. And then we can look at those weights and we can progress those weights from there as well. So it's very important to be able to look at all your past history and files, and that's just another reason why the fitness journal is a great way to do that. And then when it comes to your daily fitness journal, where we are tracking our body weight, our sleep, our calories, and our steps. And then we can also track additional things, like if we really want to get into the meals, we can track our meals. Okay, and I have videos on how we can figure out how many calories we need. Those videos are called How to Track Calories and Find Ideal Weight. I think I can put a link in right here to those videos, but those are the videos you want to watch on how to figure out calories. And I talk a lot about the importance of steps in a lot of my videos, especially the member podcast videos. So check out those on Mondays. And then I also talk about the wake up and tracking the body weight as well. But the big key to tracking all of these things is over time, we'll get more in the habit of tracking it. And it's really easy just to write it in at first. And then we'll do things like take more progress photos as well, and we can record those in our phone. And then we can actually take more videos of ourselves working out at the gym so that we can see our progress physically with our eyes at the gym as well, how we can progress through exercises. So that way we don't fixate on one little key indicator. Okay, so this way we can go back and calculate our average for our body weight for a month, for example, and be like, oh man, you know what, my body weight really wasn't that bad for that whole month. And you can't do any of that stuff without writing it down every single day. And the fitness journal is the simplest, the cheapest way to do it that I know of, and it's worked out extremely well for me. But the big thing I want you to get from step 3 here is folding the piece of paper into 4 columns. That is extremely important. And I've just stated the reasons why. Okay, so the next step, we're actually going to get into how to set up the journal, the workout part specifically. And like I said with this piece of paper, it's all right to practice on just scrap piece of paper, but you are going to want to get a physical workout journal or notebook. I like the composition notebook, or you could get a nicer one, just one that we can fold over so we have 4 columns. All right, the moment everybody has been waiting for, step 4, how to actually set up the journal. So make sure to grab a scrap piece of paper or your journal, physical notebook, and a pen, I guess. I like to use a pen. I guess you could grab a pencil as well, but I guess a pencil would probably be preferable or preferred if you are a complete beginner and you know that you're just going to be doing a lot of rewrites at first. The only bad thing about using a pencil is that a lot of the wording might get smudged over time. So it might be hard to look back at some of your workouts in the future if you are on, let's say, a few years of stacking up these fitness diaries. I would also highly recommend writing your name and some way that people can contact you in the front of your notebook, so that way you don't lose any of this really important information. And I guess one more thing I guess you could do is if you are going to be carrying around this journal with you everywhere, like I do, I would really highly recommend putting your journals in a Ziploc bag or some type of case so that they don't get wet or beat up too much in your backpack or your bag or whatever you're using at the gym. And I think that wraps up that part. Let's actually get into writing out the journal. So at the way top, we are going to write the phase that we are in currently. We're going to track the weeks of, we're going to be tracking the weight over. We're going to write what particular day workout this is, or the number of the workout it is. So typically you're going to be doing 2-3 workouts a week, maybe more if you're a really elite athlete, but this would be, let's say, day 1 workout, and then you're going to have to make 2 more sheets for this for the other 2 workout days. So that's why it's really important to make sure you memorize this template. Okay, so we have the phase at the way top, we have the weeks of the phase. So if we were on phase 2, that would be weeks 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so on, so on, so on, as we progress throughout the year. And then once we get to 2025, we could start back over at week 1, or you could just continue and you could be at like week 300 of your fitness journal or journey, right? So I think it's just cool to track the weeks that we're doing. And then the second sheet would be day 2 workout and then day 3 workout. Okay, and let's say maybe you are doing additional conditioning workouts as well. We could make additional cardio or conditioning workout sheets as well, and it would be set up just like this. And I'll talk about that a little bit here towards the end, I think. All right. So now I'm going to bring out the little pen here, and we're going to focus on this first column here, which is connected to the notebook. This is where we're going to write the 3 exercise blocks that we are going to be doing. And I'll go into a brief reason or rationale to why they are in the order they are. And if you've been watching a bunch of my videos, I always mention that there is a specific order that we want to do workouts. And that always starts with a full body warm-up, foam rolling, stretching, dynamic warm-up. And then that's when we want to get into our power block. And my power blocks, they go in a circuit fashion or a superset fashion. We're going to do 2 power exercises, an upper body power exercise, a lower body exercise, and then we're going to do some type of core exercise. The reason that we do power right after our warm-up is because it takes a lot of energy, and the muscles that are required to perform the actions will be too fatigued if we do them at the end of the workout. And that being said, the reason that we're going to be so fatigued is that if power is done correctly, we should be doing it as intense, as hard as we can, like we're trying to hit a grand slam or drive the ball 500 yards. We're doing it as hard as we can. It's an all-out effort. And then we throw a core exercise in there because most people don't do a lot of core, so it's always great to add in core. Plus, we're going to get our heart rate back down in a little bit of rest. before we go back to the upper body or the lower body power exercises. And that's the other reason that when you look at the progression here, you'll notice that I keep the reps really low on these, and I'm only doing 2 sets. And remember, a rep is how many times we're performing the exercise, and the sets is how many times we are performing those reps. And I just mentioned that I like to do the workouts here in a superset or a circuit fashion where we're moving from one exercise to the next to the next. So just remember, when you're filling out your weights, those power exercises, we're staying light on the weight and we're doing everything as intense as we can. And just a little thin on the jumping exercises. We really want to focus on the landing as well. We want a nice soft landing. If it's soft, it means that our body is absorbing all the impact. It's kind of like a car that has really good shocks. When you go over a bump, you're not going to feel it, right? It can absorb that, rather than a nice hard landing with a car that doesn't have any shocks. You feel every single pothole. So just keep that in mind when you're doing those power jump-in exercises or hop exercises, which are single leg jumps basically. A jump is 2 feet and a hop is single foot. And then once we do the power block, we're going to get into the first block, which are going to be the meat and potatoes of the workout. It's really going to be what our main focus for the phase is. And if it's muscle building, we're going to be doing higher rep stuff. And if it's strength building, we're going to be doing lesser reps, but higher weight. And then that third block is always going to be the opposite exercises from the first block. So if you look at the second piece of paper, we are doing a squat to a box, a half kneel and row, and a side plank. So the squat to a box is a knee dominant exercise where it uses the quads more. So that first exercise on that second block is going to be something that works the back side of our body but involves the legs more. So it's going to be something that's a hip dominant exercise that involves our glutes a little bit more and our hamstrings. So that's a hip lift. And then instead of doing a row, the opposite of a row is a press. So we have a half kneel and press in here. And then the opposite of a side plank is some type of front plank variation. So we have a straight-legged sit-up there as the core exercise. And then if we had another workout day, what we would do is just pick different exercises for those 2 blocks. Basically is what we would do. We would also put block 2 with block 1, and then block 1 at block 2 as well. And we would focus those block 2 exercises as strength exercises, and we could put those block 1 exercises as more just muscle building exercises or maintenance exercises, and really just go light on the weight and focus on the form, going through a full range of motion and all that good stuff. But just to reiterate, that first block is going to be power block. That second block, which is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's about 7 lines total to write the block 1 and then go down 7, put brackets around that. So that way we can write the exercises in and keep a space underneath. But we'll get to that here in a second a bit more. And then then we do that block 2. But that block 1 is always going to be our main focus on either muscle or strength. That block 2 is always just going to be higher rep stuff in general. Those could also be your bicep curl days, your tricep extension days as well. But in this example, this is really set up for a 2-day-a-week program. And I've kind of mentioned that already. We would simply take those block 1 exercises that we did on day 1, we would move those to block 2 and do more of a high rep focus. and don't worry about the intensity as much. And they would move those block 2 exercises, the hip lift, the half kneel and press, and then the straight-legged sit-up. We'd move that to the block 1 exercises, and we would just go a little bit heavier on the weights. We'd have a bit more intensity. We could also progress the exercise as well. Like instead of doing a half kneel and row, we would probably put either a dumbbell press or some type of push-up there, for example. But let's get back to actually writing in some information. So on that first block, right below that red arrow, okay, first we're going to skip a line here. So skip a line there because we're going to write the weight, the dates in for each week that we're actually performing the workout in. But you're going to write power block. You're going to go down 7 lines. Then I'd put brackets around that. Okay, and then that line right below that, you write block 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put brackets around that. Then write block 2. Go down 6 lines. Put brackets around that. And then for the rest of the space where we have notes at the bottom, right? So let's go ahead and set up that template there. Power block, block 1, block 2. And if we were having a separate sheet for conditioning, we would just have conditioning at the top, and then I don't think there would be any need for brackets unless we are doing multiple conditioning workouts. So we could have conditioning 1, conditioning 2, conditioning 3, for example, and so that way we can track it over the 3 weeks. But just get to write in the first line in the top of the piece of paper, right? The phase 1, the weeks, the day, and the workout. All right, so why don't you pause it here if you need more time, because we are going to move on to how we actually write in the weights as the weeks progress. So let's actually just put in some exercises in here. And I guess I can go over a little bit more of the explanation for the exercises as well. I've already briefly talked about it, but there's just so much to talk about that it would take a lot of podcasts and videos. So, but that's what this channel is all about. So you're gonna have to watch a lot of my other videos to get educated on some of these concepts that I'm talking about. So we have the template set up here, and let's talk about some exercises we can put in. I mentioned we want to do an upper body power exercise, so med ball slams are a great upper body exercise. Then we have a lower body exercise, we'll say jump squat, and then we're going to do a core exercise, and then we have front planks. But we're going to make sure that we are skipping a line in between all those exercises. And then for block 1, we have a squat, skip a line, put in row, skip a line, and then put in a side plank, skip a line. And the reason I didn't put in the exact exercise I did is that as you are figuring out your workout, you might do a different type of variation. So we just want you to stick to thinking that's going to be some type of squat exercise, some type of rowing exercise, all right? And then that second block is the opposite of the first block, where we're doing something for the butt or the hamstrings, and we have some type of pressing exercise for the chest, then another core exercise. We'd simply put that to block 1, and that would be our main focus, and then those block 1 exercises would go down to block 2. That would be if we were doing those only a 2-day full body functional workout. But if we are doing, let's say, a workout every day of the week or 4 or 5 days, okay, then those blocks would have different purposes. But we're not really going to get into that here. But let's go over to the week 1 column. So at the top of the column, we're going to put week 1, and then we're going to put the date that we're doing this particular workout. So that's right here at the top. We'll write that, the date, and then we're going to go down. We'll talk about the power block here. I mentioned we want the weights to be light, and we don't want to do too many rounds of the first block. And remember, we do the first exercise, and then we go into the second exercise, and we'll go into the third exercise. So that way we have a little bit of time to rest and recuperate. So that way we're not spending as much time in the gym, and we call that a superset. Okay, but in this power block, we're only going to be doing 2 sets of this superset or circuit. A circuit would typically be 3 of like the same type of exercises, so maybe like 3 different core exercises, but I guess you could call a power block a circuit as well, because power is just so demanding that we're doing 2 back-to-back power exercises, although they are focusing on different parts of the body. But anyways, we only do 2 rounds of the power circuit because it takes so much energy out of us that we need that third time through. We're just not going to be actually focusing on power anymore. It will just be some type of strength workout. That's not really contributing to maximizing any performance after that point. All right, but what I'm going to do is on the line or right next to the exercise, I'm actually going to write the weight that I did for the first set, and then I like to put a slash. Right there, you can see that I have a slash, and then I write the weight I did for the second set. Then underneath, I can write any additional notes, but typically I'm writing the number of sets I'm doing, and then times 3 would be the reps that I'm doing. So I'm doing 2 sets times 3. And then for the jump squat, I didn't do any weight, so I just put an X there for no weight. And then I'm also doing 2 sets of 3 reps there. And then for the front plank, I'm not really doing any weight on these, but I want to remind myself to keep my feet wide. Okay, so no weight, you can either put an X there or just write a note then that says no weight, or you could just write another note about making sure you focus on the form correctly. And then I have 2 sets times 15-second hold. And then if we go down to the first block, if I was filling it out on that first day, well, I guess I should also mention that this first block, since it's the first ever workout I'm doing here, first of the year, it's probably best to only do 2 sets of the exercise blocks, just so we don't overdo it on that first day. Okay, so I'll kind of actually look at week 2 here for the next block. So for block 1, if I was doing 3 sets, I'd write body weight for the first set, let's say I did, and then I did 25 for the second set, and then for the last set, I did 10 pounds. And I did a squat to a box with a 10-pound plate. It would be a reach. So I wrote that in there as a note. So and remember here, I'm putting a slash, whatever you want to call it, to differentiate the 3 different sets, and I'm doing 3 sets of 8 reps for each one of these. And let's talk about why the weights are different for each one of these sets. So that first set is really just going to be a testing set. Or a warm-up set. We don't want to be too light, but we don't want it to be the heaviest weight that we know we can do. So maybe 15 to 20 pounds lighter than what we're going to be doing for our main working set, which is always going to be set 2. So that second set's going to be the heaviest weight that we think we can do. And if you've had a whole bunch of data, workout journals to look at, it'd be a lot easier to pull up this number. Okay? But if we're just starting to work out, just put in a weight that we think that we can do for 8 reps. That's going to be challenging. It's not a weight that we can't do for 11 reps. We're not looking for an 8 rep max. Okay, we're just looking for a weight that is surprisingly challenging, I guess, for that second set. And then that third set is going to be what we call a back off set, or just we're going to go a little bit lighter because that second set should be hard enough that we couldn't do the same weight again for the 8 reps, but not too hard that we can't even do that last rep with good form. Okay, that's another key point. All these, we want to make sure that we keep a good form, good quality form, so you might need to go down in weight a little bit for those people that are chasing numbers, I guess. But then if we go down to the half kneel and row here, I actually wrote TRX in here. So I did a TRX row on that day. And since TRX is body weight, I just put 3 sets of 8 reps. But if this was, let's say, an actual cable machine, I could have wrote, let's say, 20 pounds for the first set, 50 pounds for the second set, and then maybe 30 pounds for the last set. Okay, remember that it's a warm-up set, working set, back off set. And then for the side plank, I'm writing how many seconds I'm doing. So 15 seconds, 25 for the second, and then I did it 20 for the third set. But for a lot of the core stuff, you can just keep it where you can just keep the time the same, quite honestly. And then for block 2, right, not really focusing much on the weight as much, but still the same concept in terms of the sets and the weights. So it would be a body weight or warm-up set weight slash, and then working set slash, and then your last set slash. Okay, and then I'm writing the amount of sets and the reps that I'm doing there. Okay, I would do that again for the half kneel and press. Okay, and if I was switching up the exercise there, I would write that in. Okay, maybe instead of doing the press, I just stuck to a push-up because I didn't have the exercise equipment that day. All right, and then I would write the same thing for the straight-legged sit-up. And then, as you can see here, if we look at week 3, I have like a little example here. I'm just circling it. So week 3, block 2. All right, I wrote, instead of doing the half kneel and press, I did a bench. Okay, and then for that working set, I did 50 pounds, and it was a grind. Okay, so I probably ended up just doing 50 pounds for all 3 sets, but I wrote it was a grind here, so I need to kind of do a little bit lighter weight next time I do it. All right. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, but we want to make sure we are putting the week at the top, that we're on the date, and then we're making sure that we're putting the weights that we do for set 1, 2, and 3, and we're putting how many sets and reps we're actually doing. And then we can write notes at the way bottom if we want, or we can just write notes within the actual week there too. All right, so I think I did a all right job there describing how to set this up. So what I would say is that if you need to at this point, go back and rewind and listen to this part again if you need to, but we're going to get into the daily journal here in a second. So pause it, write any questions down, comment at this time if you need to, so I can make a better video on the journal setup. Maybe there's something really obvious that I know that you guys just don't know. So let's get into the daily fitness journal, which will be the last step here in the last slide in this presentation. But this, like I said, is a daily journal where we're going to track key indicators like what we're doing for activity, our body weight, how much we're sleeping, our calories, our steps. We can also track our meals, for example, as well. we can get really detailed and put other things in this that we need to get off in our life as well. But I'm just really going to focus on stuff that we need to track in order to actually really see some progress in the gym. This is also going to be folded over, so we have 4 columns. And we'll go over that first column of what we're going to be writing in at the top. Remember, I'd also recommend writing your name and some type of contact information on that first piece of the paper or the cover of the journal, just in case you lose it. I'd also recommend storing these in some type of Ziploc bag if you're carrying it around with you on the go throughout your everyday life. And I'd recommend using a pen over a pencil because the pencil will get smudged out over time, and you're going to be stacking these journals up over years. So in that first column, we're going to put the date, we're going to put the phase right underneath that, the week underneath that, today's activity underneath that, and then we're going to skip a line. It's going to be blank, and then we're going to put our body weight, or BW for body weight. You're going to put wake up time, lights out time, your calories, and then your steps. You're going to skip a line again, and then if you want to, it's not mandatory, but you can put your diet stuff underneath this. If you're going to do that, you would have like meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, and then, or you could have a snack underneath that. So obviously you would put today's date right next to the date on the second column here. Then you'd put the phase we were on. Then you can put the week you were on of that phase. So you'd have to reference your workout journal for the phase in the week. And then for today's activity, you could write workout 1, workout 2. You could write, you played pickleball or surfed or did some activity. I'm really big into doing active activities other than the gym. So put what you did that was physically active that day, and that you got your heart rate up, you moved around a lot. Okay, typically we like at least an hour every single day. So you're going to write your activity in there, and then we're going to start to track our body weight, our wake up, our lights out, our calories, and our steps. And in that first column, right where we have that blank space, we're going to put the goal there. So what is our goal body weight? Okay, and we can find that out by watching my ideal body weight in the calorie calculator video. I put the link already in this, but watch that. Our wake up time, our lights out time, or you could just put in how many hours you slept, I guess. But I think it's important to write down every single day what time you're waking up so that you know, and then what time you're actually going to bed every day. Sleep is super important. We want to get into the habit of going to bed and waking up at the same time. And I have lights out because we could be in our beds looking at our phone and stuff. So I'm saying it's when we put our phone away, we turn the lights out, and we actually lay down and fall asleep. What time was that? And then the calories, once again, you're going to have to reference my other videos on that to figure out your goal. But steps should always be about 7,000 to 10,000 steps on a daily basis. It's really going to help us to build up the energy systems in our body that help to use fat as its primary energy source. It'll go through your glucose in your sugar stores first, but it likes to use that fat as its primary energy source. And that's one of the big issues we find is that we're not really doing enough activity to use those power plants, and that's why we can't really lose a lot of weight. So it's important to make sure that we're doing those 7,000 to 10,000 steps, and that'll show you that, okay, I hit my goal for the day in terms of using and building those power plants, long-term power plants. And then we have our diet notes here in that first column. So if we were doing tracking our meals, you're gonna have to watch the videos to figure all this stuff out. But meal one, you would write your goal, maybe in terms of calories, okay, or just something for meal one. Let's say your goal was not even to eat meal one. You're gonna skip meal one. You're like skip meal one, and then was it healthy or no? Well, you said you could skip. You could put yes, or you could just write in the notes. I skip breakfast. I'm fasting right now. Let's say meal two. Okay, you had you went to Chipotle. You could write Chipotle in there. Is that healthy? Not really. I'd put a no. You could put some other notes in like what you had in it, or you could say something like that for the goal. You could be creative. Um, I'm just trying to think of some ways other than actually counting your calories. Okay, so that's why I have was it healthy or no. You could say home cooked meal as a goal. You could write whether it was healthy, yes or no, and then the notes or the details of the actual meal. Okay, and that's the same thing here. I didn't mention this part with the body weight, the wake up, the calories, and the steps, but did you actually hit your actual number? Okay, so put what your body weight is for that day. That's the most important part. So we are rewriting our goals for the day. Okay, then we are writing what we actually did. So that way we can look at it like, okay, my goal's 160, but you know what? I'm 170 pounds right now. Obviously not getting close. And then the wake up, my goal is to wake up at 5 a.m., but I'm waking up at 7 a.m. Okay, you can write other notes. You could highlight it, good and bad, other stuff like that. But we have that last column is all for the notes for that particular thing that we are tracking. All right, so this is the last part that we want to set up. Well, this is also, I wouldn't say the last part, but I guess I always started setting up a workout journal first to track my workouts, and then I kind of did this second. So maybe that's why I'm talking about it second. But one is just to track our workouts in the progressions in the weights in the gym. The second journal here is all about the daily habits. And the better we get filling out the daily habits and the better we get at filling out our workout journals, the better we are going to see results. We'll see results quicker because we'll be able to see progress and we'll be able to cut out activities that aren't good for us. We'll be able to research things. It's just a really good way to self-educate yourself, get your thoughts together, and then this can progress into a lot of other things. But in terms of this particular daily journal, we're writing all of the things we're tracking on the left side. You could add other things to track, obviously, but then we're tracking our goal, our actual, and then any notes for the day. Okay, that's the big thing here. And we're making one every single day in a separate journal from your workout journal. So I hope this video helps here. I know it's a little bit long, but I think it's super informative, and it's a great way for me to actually talk about this stuff as well. So we're going to be updating it next year probably, or maybe sometime this year. But until next time, stay safe and keep grinding.